hailing from California, here to share how she moved through burnout to being unstoppable. Jessica Pettit, CSP, has only one warning: be careful what you ask for, she will answer you. With her message, Good Enough Now, she is the author of the book, Good Enough Now, and how listening to her own message saved her business, let's give a warm welcome, despite her poor choices, expensive mistakes, and unfiltered personality. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Jessica Pettit.
It's like rain on your wedding day. It's a free ride when you've already paid. It's the good advice that you just did.
So my therapist asked me a question about 3 years ago, and I said, toast. Actually, not toast, burnt toast. Actually, no, not even burnt toast, croutons. And not even croutons, but like that crouton that's part of the heel that has like burnt seeds on it that gets stuck in your teeth. That is how I felt about my speaking career. The reason why I want to tell you that is because we've all been there. We'll be back there, and those of you that haven't yet will be waiting for you. This job is hard. It's hard enough that for the first 10 years, I contemplated inside this job getting a different job. Then I got my CSP, and I was like, oh, I guess this is a job. Not that my clients care, but I had a spreadsheet, right? What's fascinating is that I deeply believe our message is exactly the message we need to hear the most. It's a bonus that we share it with others, but we're really just practicing listening to it again and again and again and again. So I have been a diversity and social justice speaker for 15 years. I live in the United States. We have an orangutan as a president. Sorry, Tony, wherever you are. My book was actually like 6 months late because I had sent it in, and then that happened, and I was like, hold, please. I need that book back. Right. So what I wanted to share with you tonight is that my message saved my job. Your message probably will too. But you don't believe me, so you're going to have to listen to my message so that I can remember again why I do this job. To become unstoppable is actually ironic, because you already are. And there's a bunch of junk you're doing that you need to stop. So don't say, like, become unstoppable. Remember, I'm going to keep doing this thing forever. No, some of that stuff you need to stop. But the stuff that you're like, no, I can't do this. I'm too scared. My website is not ready to launch yet. This video, let me just look at it one more time. This font or this font, I can't know. Hold, please. That's what we can stop doing so that our message can actually be unstoppable. What I realized is that about 3.5 years ago, I was not noticing any change or any difference in my audiences, the questions they were asking me, in the world, the people I was talking to at grocery stores, my friends, my family, and probably most importantly, I was not noticing any change in me. But I spoke about building a better world and being inclusive and kumbaya stuff, right? And I didn't see it working. It led to a lot of t-shirts, true. But it didn't lead to change. And if it did anything that I was not really planning on, is the biggest change is that I almost quit. I don't want you to quit because your message is important and nobody else can do it. So I literally decided if I'm going to do this, I got to figure out what to do different, because what I am doing and I'm expecting something different to happen isn't working. By definition, we all know this cliche, that's insanity. So that means I'm going to have to do something different. Now, fun facts. You cannot make yourself or others do anything. Have you noticed this already? Some of you have children and you're like, oh yes, I can. Just wait. No, you can't. So if I can't make people do anything and I can't even make myself do something, what I needed to do was a refresh look inside of my own topic. So 3 years ago, I started paying attention, not just to when I felt that I couldn't do something or that I wasn't good enough or that something was stopping me from kind of leaning into an opportunity, but I started noticing the same patterns in other people. So what I want to do with you tonight is I want quickly to share with you a model. Some of you are like, models. Some of you are like, we were having fun. So I promise it's funny. And if you can understand the model and you can find yourself in it, this is my guarantee. Whatever you're stuck on, wherever you're tripping on yourself, if you can figure out where you are in the model, I will be able to help you use your frustration, your excuses, your hell no voice in your head and sometimes outside of your head. Those things that you already have will help you become unstoppable. I promise. Tonight is about celebrating. And what I want to do is not celebrate new stuff, but I want to celebrate how you already got here. Celebrating you right now in this moment is you are the best tool you have. For some of us, me included, that is really terrifying because I am a hot mess. Such bad news, right? But if I'm the best tool I've got, here's my motto. Do the best you can with what you've got some of the time. Do the best you can with what you've got some of the time. That is better than never. Yes? Okay, so let me tell you how I got there. I started paying attention and I noticed that there were different manners in which people were avoiding either difficult conversations, challenging situations, or new opportunities. This is a subliminal diversity training. Don't tell anyone. Okay. So when I began to notice, it involves 3 different variables. This is not rocket science. Head, heart, and action. Head does not mean smart or intelligent. It means details. Teeny tiny little details, numbers, vocabulary words, colors, very specific details. Heart does not mean emotions and hugs, my dear Canadians. What heart means is a connection to something bigger. This happened, but you're having a heart response, which is way out here. That's a really important thing to understand. And then lastly, action. Action does not mean exercise. Load off my mind. Action means doing something. These are the people who don't want to be in a meeting about meetings. They just want to know where to move the chairs, right? Like call them after you've decided. We typically respond using 2 of the 3 variables. The third one I call the dangling participle. It's the third rail. If any of you are familiar with like subway systems, there's the third rail that you're not allowed to touch, right? If you touch it, it'll electrocute you. It is also the thing that powers the entire system. So what we're going to do tonight quickly is I want you to figure out where you are and how you typically show up. And then I want you to notice what your third rail is. Because your third rail is what's actually stopping you from doing the things you should do. And it's motivating you to do the crap you should stop doing. If you can pay attention to that. So to review, head is a downward facing lamp. Okay? Heart, upward facing lamp. Action, strobe light. When we make judgments and assumptions, we have figured out how to live our lives to feel the most safe and prepared. And we will show up with 2 of them. Almost always because it becomes our comfort, it becomes our habit. So if we're dividing them up, there's 3 different archetypes. The first one, head action. Head action, folks. I am one of you. Here is what is annoying about us. This will help you narrow it down. If it's not you, you'll figure out, oh, this is that person. Just keep notes. Okay, head action. What's annoying about us is we do not play well with others, right? If you would just leave me alone, I could plan this whole thing by myself and get all the credit for it because that's what I'm going to take anyway, okay? Sound familiar? That is a head action person. A heart action person is very charismatic. It's usually the face of an organization, and they have no idea how they got there at all. They're completely dependent on people scurrying around behind them to actually implement their ideas, because all they do is have ideas. And then before that one gets implemented, they have a whole new idea. Some of you run your entire businesses this way, right? You don't necessarily finish or implement, you just dream up a new t-shirt over and over and over again. That is a heart action person. And then last but not least is the head heart person. This is literally how I sell books. They'll be in the bookstore on Sunday. You're welcome. Head heart people, you're the ones who are like, I don't know yet. Does she mean at home or work? There's worksheets on the table. I'm going to have to look at this. I don't know what she means. You need more information because you're all about possibilities. This is really important to understand is that you're probably one of them. Now, there's a silly little survey that's Baker dozen of questions. If you're interested, you can take it and it'll tell you which one is your strongest suit. But you typically show up with two of them, leaving one to dangle. Now, the reason why this is key is that if you can figure out what you are, and you can figure out how you're running your business, you will also figure out how you're running your business into the ground. Until you can connect to your third rail. If you can implement all three elements at once, that is how you will become unstoppable. Watch. First, Gandhi. Gandhi is your head action person. He was horrifically annoying to work with, and that somehow we don't remember. He was so egotistical, he thought his own hunger strike would overthrow an entire government. He doesn't need other people. And then he brought his head in his action. One day, he stumbled into compassion. He realized his work would potentially impact people who weren't even born yet. And all of a sudden, his work had a different mission. It was less ego-driven. He was able to align with all three variables, and his work became unstoppable because he figured out what he was missing was his heart part. In current times, and I should probably disclose, I'm obsessed with US politics, although the tour of the Parliament building yesterday was amazing. And depending on what happens in the next 4 days in my country, I might stay. So, in current times in US politics, this is Hillary Clinton. So somewhere in her multicolored pantsuits, her head action stuff shows up all the time. And most of us know this. She's an incredibly divisive figure, as was Gandhi. Gandhi was actually assassinated by his own people. You know these people. Hillary Clinton, also divisive. But what's interesting is that when she talks about healthcare and equitable treatment amongst women and children, her heart part shows up. And a lot of people would say she probably would have been more effective as a leader if she had been able to show up in her trifecta, as I like to call it, instead of playing a game. Now, full disclosure, there's misogyny and patriarchy and sexism and stuff, but that's a different breakout at a different conference. Okay? Now, heart action, what's important about this one is that we want to think that this is good, right? Like, yes, this is where leaders come from. So this is Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King literally had a dream, not a plan. Those of you that plan events, that part of that speech was a 45-minute riff off schedule over 2 other speakers' slots. I like to picture an event planner under the bleachers, chain smoking, like, how do you get this guy to shut up? If you think that's funny, don't do that to your own clients. So what's interesting is Martin Luther King, I've done a lot of research on all of these folks, but when you read his journals and his archived research, or my archival research on his journals, let's say it right. When you do that, what's fascinating is that he had a PhD and was an ordained minister before he was 40. I think he was tapping into that headpiece, trying to figure out a system, trying to figure out a way that his ideas could possibly work. He would say, and he did, that his work actually got far more effective when it actually switched from just being straight Christian black men and straight Christian white men being equal. When his work expanded to be on a living wage, not only did it become more threatening, which led to his assassination, but it actually started working. No, it's not finished, but we're certainly still having those conversations. And now, current times, watch. It's a magic trick I am not going to catch on fire because this is Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. Actually, most of the elected officials on the globe tend to be heart action people because politics and government is the system they've tapped into. If they can show up in their trifecta, they can be powerful leaders and get a lot of stuff done. I think it's a really important thing to understand that right now, in our world, we're being told that all this stuff is brand new. No, it's not. What's new is that we have a 24/7 news cycle in our pockets. This isn't new. These are ideas. There will be new ideas. And at least in the United States, there's this pesky constitution that will probably stop a lot of these ideas. Rest assured, I believe in our democracy, and I believe in the time it takes us to be utterly terrified, we will actually be able to realize this isn't new. And it's not going to last because our voices matter. And the system of democracy is actually what's at play here because it too is unstoppable. Now, lastly, is your head heart people. And I just want to throw it out there that some of you are still deciding this is you. Okay? You're welcome. I married one of you. It's karma. So, head heart folks, these are the people you don't ask at the beginning of lunch, right? Where do you want to go? Oh, that's like a thing. They pull open a drawer of every possibility. They go online and look at every review. They start reviewing the history of everything. I'm bringing this up specifically because in the conversations I've had, I think there's a lot of you here. This is about possibility. How invigorating is that? But it's also like quicksand. This is Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was really annoying, I promise. And she was questioning things that were bigger than her. Was it her God's will to have this much suffering on the planet? Or was it her God's will for her to intervene? If she did intervene, is she going against God's will? If she didn't, is she? No wonder she doesn't know where to go to lunch. She's busy, right? Now, what's fascinating to me is that when she eventually realized that she had the ability to build a school, that was when her work became unstoppable. And she didn't just build a school. She built schools in the worst part of India that even the governmental services weren't supporting because she could. She was able to show up in her trifecta and be unstoppable. In current times, this is Barack Obama. Now, the reason why I wanted to end on this is I want you, while you're here at CAPS, to do what he did. As soon as he took office, the first thing he did was stack a cabinet full of people who vehemently disagreed with him. If he had the luxury of time, he would have all these different perspectives to be able to make a wise choice. If he had the luxury of time. When he left office, people asked, what's your biggest regret of 8 years? and he said Syria. Not because of what the United States did do in Syria, but because the US never decided what to do. That was his biggest regret. We're all gonna get burnt out. Again, for some of you, it's the first time. And what I love about being able to go to speaking events like this with speakers, and I'm using speaker in the broadest definition possible, is that this is a family. It's a family of people who have screwed up in a more expensive, more public, more awful, more embarrassing, more horribly epic way than you're about to. My challenge, and it's so interesting that I get to say this here and not at NSA, but my challenge is, can you bring that sense of humility to learn from someone who hasn't spoken a quarter as much as you, but they have a new idea that might help you? Is it possible that you, with all your new positions and your fanciness and your multiple commas, and you got a check big enough that you can't even deposit it on your phone? Boom! Is it possible that you have something you can still learn? Those of you that might be brand new to CAPS, you might be brand new to speaking, you might be thinking about whether or not you want to be a speaker. Do you have the cojones to go up to somebody and you don't understand all the bling on their name tag and give them your idea? Because you have a fresh set of eyes on their business or their keynote or their workshop or their marketing. Can you do that? It's imperative that if we're going to pretend to be a family, we actually treat each other like a family. The idea of celebrating the career that most of us are still forging, and I mean that, right? Every day I'm like, do I still want to do this? Most of the time I'm like, no, I'm just unemployable now. If these next couple of days, go to breakouts, listen to the keynotes, have conversations in the hallway, can you be unstoppable with what you're willing to learn as much as what you're willing to share? It's so critical to understand, and why I say that this is a subliminal diversity training is that this is at the root of everything in my work. Everything. But if I tell you that up front, you leave. Your best friend, they like you anyway. There's something about you that is so horrifically flawed. What's weird is most of us have learned to celebrate that as a point of distinction. It is on our homepage on our website. It is something weird we do to the same topic that other people also do. Now that's a pretty controversial statement, and I'm sure somebody in here is like, no, I am a person of one. I don't want to misquote anybody. Somebody else does exactly what you do. Why are you not friends with them? If we're actually talking about being a crouton, some of you know it's a little too big of a laugh on that one. If we know that we can get burnt out, and it's up to this group of people to breathe some life back into us, we have to do that for someone else too. Tonight is about celebrating. What I encourage you to do is not just celebrate your bank accounts, not just celebrate the great pictures you get for your website, right? Or the fact that the static related to it snowing outside has not made my skirt raise above my boobs yet. It's just a celebration of one over here, don't worry. What would happen if we, even just in the cone of silence of this hotel, we celebrate everything we're doing wrong, right? What would happen if we have a language now that we can interact with one another and be like, okay, I think I'm a this person, I think I'm a this person, just by a show of hands. If you think you're a head action person, raise your hand. This is the Gandhis of the room. You're the ones who don't play well with others, you got this, leave me alone. You make up deadlines when you do have to work in groups because you lie, because you're gonna end up doing it all yourself anyway. Yeah, these are my people. So head action people, you can identify yourself that way. Heart action, you're the one, the ideas, they just keep coming and turn into t-shirts and little sparkly butterflies. Right, great. Everyone else, you're a head heart person. Some of you are still thinking about that. Okay. If you have not self-identified, I promise you're a head heart person because you're missing the action bits. Oh, okay, you don't believe me. Fine, I married one of you. You are stuck in spin cycle. I'm calling you out on this because it's really important. Your third piece is action. Some of you came from all far away. Some of you were like, I'm actually just Ubering home after this. But whatever, you came here because this only happens one time a year, and you're gonna try and get exactly what it is you need to take your business to the next level. And I wanna help you do that because your message can't come out of anybody else's face your way. If you are a head heart person, I'm gonna use my husband as an example. This is karma, right? Because I'm a super action-oriented person. So of course I married Mother Teresa in every way. So I travel about 300 days a year. I'm working on that getting down to under 100. We'll talk about it later. I live in the middle of nowhere. This trip, I left November 3rd. Yeah, I did do laundry, so I'm safe. So my husband, when I come home, was talking about buying a kayak. Are any of you these weirdo outdoor people? Anyone? Yeah, I don't understand you, but whatever, good luck. So he's always like, wanna come? And I'm like, I believe that's why they invented a camera. No. Anyway, so we live on a cliff on the ocean in California. I can't complain about anything. So every time I come home, he would talk to me about a kayak. He has been researching kayaks. Those of you that don't care, welcome to my life. Those of you that are suddenly interested, you're weird. Okay. Kayaks. Now, for the record, there's different kinds of kayaks. There's the kayaks that are freshwater. There's the kayaks that are saltwater. There's the kayaks that are whatever that word is when it's mixed, right? I call it the bay, but whatever. So he's been looking at kayaks. He wants to get the right kayak that he can use the most in the most types of water with the right kind of current, with the right kind of tide, with the right kind of wind. And then there's sea lions and birds and pelicans and all these things that he has to think about. He's also an environmental ethicist, right? So like he can't be a new one, so it has to be recycled, preferably made out of recycled plastic and previously owned. That would be even better. And he's the cheapest person alive, so it has to be on sale. Okay. So, evidence that I am obviously a saint is that I would come home, he would tell me the story of the damn kayak, okay? I'm not exaggerating. 6 years went by of kayak research talk. He sent me links, he sent me videos. He did research. Eventually we had a binder, not full of women, full of kayaks, okay? I had it one day, patience, got it done, okay? So over breakfast one day, I literally looked at him and I was like, get in the car, I'm buying your kayak today. We're going to this store, whatever kayak they have, that's the one you're buying and you're gonna love it. Now, yes, you would think that would be great, but this is why you head heart people are so annoying. So, I live in the middle of nowhere. We go to the one store that sells kayaks. I park. We walk out. Guess what is leaning against the door? Better. A red, previously owned, recycled plastic kayak that is the one that he used as the cover photo on the binder. And it's on sale. I feel that enough of you are not feeling my pain here. The point is that it worked. He doesn't even know that I'm about to kill him, right? Because he's like, oh, look, magic. The kayak fairies were in our favor. I'm standing behind him, like throat punching him, like, yes, you are correct. That sounds great. Let's buy this kayak. Why am I telling you this really long kayak story? Right. Well, I am a stand-up comic. Read my bio. Yes. No, I am telling you the kayak story because he could have been kayaking for 6 years. We have been married for 15. One of my personal favorite things as I am on the road is every time he goes kayaking, I get a picture. Right, I know, right? This is why I married well, can't cuss. Got it, okay. The reason why I want to share that with you is that as much as I complained about his stupid kayak, I realized 3 years ago I wasn't buying my kayak. I realized that I was playing it safe. I had reached Elvis status in my speaking career as long as I stayed on this lily pad. This one right here. Boom, just pet it. Meant something. People stood in line to smell near me. It's very weird. And one day, it dawned on me that if I don't do something about my speaking business now, someday those college students are gonna stay the same age. They're gonna watch me climb those steps. And their response isn't gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, Jessica Pettit, I've been waiting for this forever. Their response is gonna be like, oh God, is she okay? Her knees. Did you hear that? I think that was her back. Should we call an ambulance? I wanted to go out the college market like Seinfeld, not like Joan Rivers. So, while you're here, scare yourself. For me, I put together a mastermind of 3 other speakers that utterly, still to this day, terrify me. I specifically set up rules about what it was that I was looking for, what they had to have and what they couldn't have. Number 1, they had to be able to follow through. Because if you wait 6 years to do something, I'm going to throat punch you, okay? I know this for a fact. Then, I did not want someone who worked in diversity, because I do, and I'm trying to grow and learn and do something different, and I really do feel like a thought leader in that area. So I wanted someone not in diversity, and I certainly did not want someone speaking in the college market. For the record, not because I looked down on it, but because I wanted to be able to help someone, and I put a mastermind group together to help me. So I do help them, just not in my mastermind group. I then tried to look, and I narrowed down my professional speaking association down to 1 Facebook group. And in that Facebook group, I started noticing and paying attention like a laser beam, who follows through, who is not diversity, who is not college. And I made a list, and if I felt like I was gonna throw up writing down their name, I called them. My grandmother used to say, ask, constantly seek rejection. You're already at no. The worst thing that's gonna happen is a different answer. All 3 of those people have said yes. And in these 3 years, not only have I fallen in love with my message, but I believe my work is more effective. I believe I'm finding some work-life balance thing. I've been on my husband's kayak twice. And I believe being re-in-loved is the language I'm gonna use there. Re-in-loved with my own work. I wrote a book. I'm doing more work. I'm doing work with audiences I love. I had no idea that there were so many people who needed my message because I'm finally looking out. I have become unstoppable. Not because I'm a better speaker or I'm running a better business. Still a hot mess. I've become unstoppable because I realize I'm doing the best I can with what I've got some of the time, and that makes me good enough. That is what you should celebrate.